If you're a beginner sewer or a novice sewer, this is the perfect project for you. Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 11, 8, and 6. This is our 5th year homeschooling, and we've just recently restarted our homeschool year calendar to start in January and run through November. So if you're new here, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you're interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist, practical lifestyle, you have come to the right place. And nowadays, if you want to see my videos and not miss any, you really do have to hit that notification bell. So if you don't want to miss any videos, go ahead and do that. In today's video, I'm sharing a sewing upcycle video with you all in collaboration with my friend Valerie over at Our Homeschool Castle. Now, Valerie has a blended family of 5 children, and she also does a lot of videos about secular homeschool reviews, art therapy, being a blended family. I like that she does art therapy videos not only for children, but also for adults and for parents. As somebody who's not intrinsically artistic myself, I would say I'm more crafty. I find that using my hands, doing what I can with painting, knitting, drawing, getting in there with clay and manipulables, and just using my hands to create things really is helpful for me. So in today's video, I'll be showing you an upcycled nightgown. It's a pillowcase nightgown. So basically you get a vintage pillowcase and you get some tank tops that fit your child or t-shirt tops that they've grown out of or whatever. And you just combine the two of them with a very simple combination seam to create nightgowns. And I love that the pillowcases allow the opportunity to lengthen the nightgown naturally, because in general pillowcases come with that pillowcase hem. So you can just let out the nightgown as the child grows. And pillowcase nightgowns are perfect for handing down. They're really sturdy once you make them. It's really easy to make them with just a knit top and a bottom, because you don't have to do any of the fancy sewing that goes into necklines or hems or even armholes and things like that, the buttons, none of that fussy stuff. So it is a 30-minute project, even for a beginner. I would say maybe if you're insecure, it would take you maybe an hour, but I can knock them out in about 20 minutes now, and I am by no means an expert. So I brought you guys up here to my little sewing area. I apologize for the noise that's about to happen because all my kids are home. But I have this little sewing corner. It's a window seat in my bedroom, and there's this built-in bookshelf that I have actually used to store all of my fabrics. I basically bought some comic book inserts and I wrapped my fabric around them, and so I store them kind of like books on a shelf. And it lets me see all my fabrics really easily, and I really appreciate that. So if you've been wondering how to store some of your fabrics that you only have a yard or 2 of, this is a great way to do it. I actually picked up sewing when my son was a baby because I was studying for the bar exam, and I just always wanted to know how to sew. I am entirely self-trained. I am not particularly good. I would put myself firmly in the beginner category. I think everything I've learned basically has been from Pinterest in terms of sewing. So this is a pillowcase dress, you guys. This is a vintage pillowcase that I had just picked up from a thrift store. I like that it already comes with detailing. You know, you have this pretty lace detailing, etc. And then I just sewed on the top of an old tank top to it with a French seam, so it's a totally hidden and enclosed seam even on the inside, and a couple of pleats. So if you look at the inside seam, it doesn't have any raw edges, so you have a really nice, neat, finished end product. And a French seam is something I learned just by doing this particular garment, and I really had the best time doing it. So I haven't made these in a little bit, but I will show you the different steps just to show you how easy it is. You can do this in half an hour, no problem whatsoever. And I really like how doing a few pleats makes it come out nice and finished looking. I also really like how, because you have this pillowcase hem, you can release the hem as your child grows. So if they get a little bit bigger, you can just release the hem and you're good to go. So it's a really functional way to upcycle something. So for the first step, what I get is basically just an ordinary child's undershirt. And you want to measure your child the first time just to see where would you like that waist to fall. So just get an ordinary tape measure. Measure from where the shoulder seam would be straight down to where you want that bodice to be. So start at the shoulder of that and measure straight down until you get to around where you want it to be. To keep this even in a knit fabric, what I like to do is once I get that and I get an idea of generally where it is, I look here and I see, okay, so this is about 3 inches down, let's say, from the underarm hole, right? And once I get that, I just measure that 3 inches down. And then I make a little mark with a fabric marker like this that washes out. I do the same thing on the other side from the underarm hole. That way your shirt ends up being a more consistent measurement, because sometimes these like undershirts can be a little wonky, and if you just measure from the shoulder seam, you might end up with a slanted line. So that's one little beginner tip. Measure from the underarm hole to where you want to end up. Once you get that, just cut straight across and you'll have a little like crop top of this. And the next step is to know, how long do you want this to be? I generally have decided to make them as long as possible so that my daughter can wear them to the ground and then just grow into them over time so that she can wear them for the longest amount of time possible. I round it to the nearest inch. I am not precise about this at all. And then what you'll do is you will measure exactly that distance down on both sides and then cut off that very top of your pillowcase. Once you cut that little top off, you are ready to pleat this fabric to match the width of your undershirt and then join them together. So that's all right. So now you've cut off the very top of your pillowcase and you can keep that for scrap. One thing I've done with some of these is I save them to make headbands because it's already like in a casing. So all you have to do is slide in an elastic piece and there you go, automatic headband. So now your pillowcase looks like an open tube, right? You've got this open top at the bottom and you could stick your hand all the way down to the hem. The finished hem of the pillowcase is going to be the hem you use for your dress. So now you have this cut raw edge of your tank top and it looks like a tiny little crop tank top. And the next thing I do is I measure out how wide across my tank top is. Without any stretching, it is about 10 inches and a smidge, like 10 1/4 inches. The next thing I do is I measure out how wide is my unstretched, this is not really stretchy fabric, pillowcase at the raw edge. And if I measure out, it measures probably about 19 inches or so, which is a little less than twice the width of my knit tank top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it here and start to pleat this in a way that makes it match up. So I know that I have to get rid of about half of this. So I generally go about every 1/3 inch and give it like a little inch pleat. And I am not precise about pleating either, because basically you're going to have to redo it until you get a perfect fit. So I don't really do it by math, I just do it by feel. So you can see here, starting from this edge, I've pleated 1, pleated 2, and I'm just going to keep pleating around until I get to the point where I feel like we might have the right distance. And if I need to adjust it once I finish, I'll do it then. One thing I'll say is when I get to the seam of the pillowcase, the side seam, I like to make that pleat so that the side seam is on the edge of a pleat. So it's like not in the middle of the pleat like this, it falls on the edge. So that one might not be as even as all the rest, and I'm okay with that. I find that it makes it just a little bit more comfortable once you end up with a completed garment. Again, please don't come for me in the comments if I'm not doing these things right. I am just a beginner, just self-taught, really just doing this for fun. So if you have a better way of doing it, I'm sure you are correct. And actually, if you have like some easy tips for me, like I would love to hear, because I am in no way a sewing teacher. So I am just pleating these pleats straight around. Yep. And now that does it just about exactly. So now when you hold up your skirt, your pleated skirt runs the length of your unstretched tank top almost exactly. Now to do a French seam, you guys, I've never really done them before. You know how whenever you learn how to sew at the beginning, you keep hearing right sides together, right sides together, right sides together. In this one, you're actually going to put your wrong sides together. So you're going to turn your tank top inside out and you're going to slide it into your pillowcase. And you're going to line up the seams of your tank top with the seams of your pillowcase so that you get, or at least the seam of one of them, just so you get the flattest lay, I find. And if you don't want to do a French seam, this becomes even a faster project. And take your time here, you know, just spread it out, because the knit fabric tends to not want to slide against your other fabric. I use the same exact pins for my pleats, and I just unpin it and pin it to the knit fabric. So if you can see here, I'm unpinning my pleat and pinning straight through my knit fabric. And there's no real science to this. I'm just trying not to stretch out the knit shirt very much. And I'm trying to make sure that the top of it lines up as closely as possible with the top of my pillowcase. And I think I've pretty much gotten there. So if you look at the inside here, see how it pretty much lines up just so with the outside? And I just go ahead and sew it with about 1/4 of an inch allowance. So I like to start slow at the beginning because I find that if I make a mistake, I can fix it much faster if my machine doesn't like the fabric or something. But then I just go ahead and put it on medium speed and sew a straight seam straight around. So now what you have is these two linked together, but you have this raw edge. If you want to keep it a raw edge like this and you don't mind, you could have done right sides together and you would pretty much be done at this point. But to make a French seam, now what you're going to do is you're going to turn this inside out again. The entire thing this time. Now you've turned it inside out entirely. You have the inside part of the knit top and the inside part of the skirt showing. And it looks like, oh no, we've done this wrong. We have a nice finished seam on this side of it. But really what you're going to do is pinch this seam together. So you're going to enclose it completely. So you're going to push your tank top in again, fold down the knit side as much as you can, and just put your pin straight through that pleat. If you feel a little bit of excess fabric as you're doing this, it could be an area where you maybe caught more fabric than you wanted on the other side. I seem to have caught more of the knit top than I wanted, so I'm just going to go through and give that a little trim. So this is what you have at the end. You folded it over one more time, so you're looking at the wrong side of the skirt and the wrong side of the tank top here. And what you're trying to do is enclose it completely. So I try to give this a little bit more of an allowance. I give it very little allowance. I just want to enclose that seam just to make it a nice finished edge. And you're done. That is all there is to this project. It is so fast and easy. So you see, when you finish, you have this really nice finished seam on the inside with nothing poking out. This is the whole little project. You have a little knit top and pillowcase bottom. You'll notice if you look closely that I actually didn't enclose the entire seam. There's two ways to fix that. I can go back and just give it a little bit more of a fold to encase that edge and do another running seam like a little bit, like maybe 2 millimeters out, and that'll solve the problem entirely, which is what I might do. Another option is you can take a cute little ribbon and create like a little ribbon detail for a ribbon belt or something that covers that up. The best thing about the French seam in my mind is that my youngest has a little SPD. So enclosing the seam neatly like this on the side that'll touch her skin so that there's no loose threads or anything matters so much to her. So I think that's honestly one of the reasons why she wears these so much. And yeah, it's just a really easy little project. So if you want a half-an-hour project with an old pillowcase, this is an easy project to do. Okay, you guys, I hope that was really helpful to you. And don't forget to check out Valerie's video, which I will link in the description box down below. She has a lot of great ideas for how we can incorporate more art therapy into both our homeschool lives and our own personal motherhood journey. I really appreciate Valerie for coming up with the idea for this video. If any of the rest of you want to do a collaboration with me at any point in time, especially if it's about secular homeschooling, I would love to help boost other channels' growth. My channel recently crossed 20,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who are subscribers who watch. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you do. It is such an encouragement boost to know that we are building community here, that people are gaining value from the content we produce. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for helping my channel reach that landmark. And thanks again to Valerie, so don't forget to check out her video down below. As always, you guys, I wish you the very best day.